My name is Cory, obviously, and I've always been a numbers sort of guy, always really attracted to numbers. So when I heard this next statistic, I was a little startled. According to the National Center for Health Statistics, 1 in every 10 Americans takes an antidepressant. Those numbers are based in 2008. The study does not account for the fact that it is now 2013, so the number has grown. It also does not account for the people who A, are not taking medication, or B, are treating themselves through other means, such as drinking, smoking, or eating a lot of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. So my question is, 1 out of 10, that seems like a huge statistic. Why are Americans so depressed? Well, a number of issues pop to mind: the recent government shutdown, current and impending wars, racism, sexism, homophobia, or more personal issues such as our weight, our sexuality, or our income. The common thread among all of these problems is just that the problems seem big, bigger than us. And when we feel we don't have enough clout, when we feel that we cannot change our problems, this can lead to despair. And despair leads to depression, and depression leads to Prozac. But I have a different solution. My solution is cheaper than medication, it's healthy for you, and it also is good for you and those around you. My solution is activism. You see, I'm no stranger to problems. I'm adorable. When I was a year old, my mother and my father divorced because my father had a drug habit. That was not before he foreclosed on our house, he maxed out our credit cards, and he pawned off my mom's wedding ring. She had to work 40 to 60 hours a week with a 1-year-old. And all the money she made either went to putting a house above our heads or keeping the bill collectors at bay. There was not that much money around for good, nutritious food, and because I was so unsupervised, I didn't get out much. I was inactive. As a child, I started to gain weight very rapidly. I carried those habits with me into middle school and high school, continuing to gain weight, and my friends gave me a lovely nickname, Pudge. I tried to own it. I tried to be happy with the nickname. I tried to make it part of me. I tried to be that funny fat guy, you know? Just that good, jolly old guy. But I hated it. I hated it because every time they looked at me and they called me Pudge, I saw that they were seeing my weight before they were seeing me. That weight had become an inextricable part of who I was. It was a problem so systemic that I felt that I couldn't change it. Going into college, I did come to University of Michigan Dearborn, but my friends did not. They went to other colleges, so I was more alone than ever. And it was in college that I maxed out at 220 pounds. I hated the way I looked. I hated the way I felt. But more than anything, I hated that I was doing nothing about it. It was my freshman year of college when I began to contemplate suicide. I would be driving down I-94, I would be looking at the freeway divider, and I would just say to myself, 5 seconds. If I let go of the wheel for 5 seconds, everything can be over. All of my problems can go away. We've all felt despair in one form or another. It is my hope that by standing here today, I can give you a different path, that you don't have to feel the way that I felt. So now, let's talk about happiness, and particularly, let's hear it from an expert. A psychologist by the name of Dr. Abraham Maslow thought of this idea, this state of being called self-actualization. It is the state where we are at our happiest. We accept who we are, the most unique thing about ourselves, and become our most productive. We build on what we are and share it to others. He also theorized that in order to reach this pinnacle of happiness, we needed to have our needs fulfilled. And he took it upon himself to list our needs. Now, this is just a framework. It's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's by no means a step-by-step ladder. You don't fulfill needs 1 through 4 and then suddenly you're happy. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. But it is a useful framework to see where our deficits might be. First step is physical, our physical needs, what we need to keep our bodies alive. Food, water, air, Jolly Ranchers, whatever it happens to be. Our second set is security, things that we need to make ourselves feel safe. House, clothes, this fancy tie that makes me look professional. 3, love and belonging. This comes first, our micro community, our family and our friends, and then it expands to our macro community, our state, our country, seeing ourselves as a global citizen. And it ends on esteem. Again, it starts on the outside. We receive external validation, which we then internalize and turn into self-esteem. And only once we've moved through those 4 steps can we reach self-actualization, this ultimate production of the human spirit. Them's a lot of steps. Prozac is a lot easier. But Prozac treats a symptom, it does not treat the disease. If unhappiness is stemming from the fact that our needs aren't being fulfilled, then we need to work to fulfill those needs in order to be happy. And that's where activism therapy comes in. Activism not only provides these needs for everyone, it has a reciprocal effect. It fulfills our needs as well. Moving back to my story, that freshman year of college, I ended up taking a trip down to Kentucky to visit some relatives. I'll never forget the day. It was December 28th, 2009. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, everyone was asleep, and I was on my laptop, and I was desperately searching for a complete stranger on the internet. Someone to talk to me for 5 to 10 minutes to let me know that I was worth talking to. Something in my head started to bother me. It's like I was outside of myself and seeing this ridiculous pantomime. So I shut my laptop. I let some realizations start to flood over me. I realized that there are 7 billion people on this planet. That's 7,000,000,000,000. A lot of people. The sheer odds and probability are that one of those people could like me. One of them might even love me. I realized then that everyone deserves to have that feeling of being liked and being loved. Furthermore, I realized that I deserved that feeling, and I could be that person for other people. I could like them, I could love them, I could give them what they needed. And then I realized that I could give myself what I needed, that I could love me. And then I realized I kind of did. 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm babbling like a baby, tears down my eyes, a big goofy grin on my face, and the only question was, what next? Where do I go from here? I had memories from high school where we had to do these community service projects in order to graduate, and they were the only times I truly felt happy, truly felt alive. One project was the March of Dimes Walkathon. It was an 8-mile walk for charity. 8-mile walk. I was 200 pounds. This was no easy task. But sweating as I was, drenched from head to toe, slogging my way to that finish line, I was pulled along by the energy of everyone around me. These activists, these optimists, these people who were moving towards a goal. Cheers would shoot up like fireworks among the crowd. It was infectious. It was contagious. I wanted that feeling. I needed that feeling. And I needed it more than just one day a year. So I had to take up my own cause. I picked the perfect one for me. But if my story's not enough for you, let me tell you a story about a guy named Bob. Everyone say hi to Bob. He can't hear you, he's a stick figure. Anyways, Bob has a problem. And to Bob, his problem seems as large as a boulder. And try as Bob might to make any kind of change with his problem, any kind of movement along with his problem, he cannot. It always feels like an uphill battle. The more he tries, the more he seems to fail. And Bob begins to despair. And Bob begins to feel depressed. And Bob feels like giving up. Everyone go, aww. But Bob took a second, he looked around. And Bob realized that other people had problems too. Some people had more than one problem. The problems varied in size. And Bob realized that although he could not fix his own problem, he could help and move other people's problems. And when he stepped away and he helped other people, he realized 3 important things. One, he realized that when we help other people with their problems, we just get better at solving problems in general. And we can take that knowledge and apply it to our own and make our problems easier to solve later. 2, he realized that when we help other people, they're typically very grateful. And then they will support us later in our own problems, and they will help us. And 3, Bob realized that when we help other people with their problems, there are less problems in the world, and no one can argue that that's a bad thing. So Bob helps other people. He makes connections. He gets support, and with their support, eventually his problem disappears. And Bob is happy. Let's give a round of applause for Bob. This idea, this reciprocation of needs, this happiness that we can gain from helping others, is not new. In fact, it goes back to Maslow himself. He has a quote, and he says, "It is a fact that people are good. If you give people affection and security, they will give affection and be secure in their feelings and in their behaviors." This reciprocity I'm talking about, when we create a network of people to support, when we join activist groups, we have this support for ourselves to help us with our own issues, and it fulfills Maslow's need of love and belonging. In fact, a study by Psychology Today found that when they interviewed 23 animal activists, the more involved they got in their activist groups, in their communities, the more changes they started to make towards their own health. They began to feel happier. And if 23 is not a big enough number for you, how about 1,300, 1300? That's a number of people the International Society of Political Psychologists, I got it that time. That's the number of people the International Society of Political Psychologists studied. And they found that engaging in political activism had three crucial effects. One, it raised senses of happiness. Two, it increased their sense of social well-being, love and belonging once again. And three, it immediately gave them a sense of vitality, a shot of life, that energy I was talking about when I walked 8 miles. Not only were they fulfilling their own needs, but it happened immediately. That's important. When we're engaging in activism, it's not about reaching the end goal. If you want to fight global hunger and you're not going to be happy until everyone's fed, you're going to wait a while to be happy. But if you want to go out and you want to give food to someone randomly on the street, or you want to work in a soup kitchen and see that direct cause, just the act of trying, according to this study, the immediate act of trying is enough to make us feel happy, more alive. It's not always about finding the end, it's about striving to get there. These needs all can be met for other people through activism. There are programs involved to give people physical needs, soup kitchens, or food banks, security. We have Habitat for Humanity, love and belonging. We have Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, and for esteem, we have the suicide hotline. There are things that we can get involved with in order to help other people and fulfill their needs, and it will reciprocate and fulfill our own. That special project I was talking to you about earlier, the one that I took up, the mantle that I donned, Superman, was public health. I didn't want anyone to feel as unhealthy or as uneducated as I was. So I started my own blog. I called it Junk Food Rehab. How I went from Cheetos to Chia was the basic idea. And the more I researched for my subscribers, I had a few, the more research I did for my subscribers, the more articles I put out there, the more I found myself changing. I'd taken on this cause, but I started learning. I started developing. And I started reading food labels like it was my job. I'm a pain to go grocery shopping with. I will spend too long in every aisle just, fructose corn syrup, throw that, and then the busters get mad at me, so whatever. I ended up dropping 50 pounds. I discovered that fruits and vegetables don't only come from cans. Who knew? And the more I got involved and the healthier I got, the more I wanted to give back. I started to get involved with women's shelters. I started to get involved with animal welfare groups. Anything that I could find where I could fulfill a need, I wanted to do that. I wanted to give back. I wanted to be that self-actualized member of society. I graduated from the University of Michigan Dearborn in 2013, just this spring. And I was awarded the Chancellor's Medallion. It's an award that only goes to 6 students per graduating class. And I was chosen for my service to my fellow man. I'm now looking at public policy schools at UofM. Cough, cough. There are psychological underpinnings. There are real concepts at work here, these mechanisms that actually make this work, that make activism therapy real. And one is called modeling. It's this idea that if I'm unconfident and I don't feel good about myself, if I look at a high-powered CEO, someone who walks in with his big, powerful tie and his big voice, and he walks around and he points at people and he says things in a demanding tone, if I do that, I will eventually feel the same confidence that he does. Mirror neurons in my brain will cause the same kind of feelings that he has when he acts this way, and I will take on his behaviors for myself. I will gain confidence by mimicking confidence. Now, the self-actualized individual, the person that we are striving to be, this state we are trying to reach, is characterized by three things: compassion, morality, and production, helping other people. That sounds really familiar. Compassion, morality, helping other people. Activism! By engaging in activism, we are actually modeling a self-actualized individual, and we can gain those feelings for ourselves. This is a tried and true practice. You will find it in most people who practice cognitive psychotherapy. I started this talk with some depressing statistics. I would like to end with some happy ones. In 2010, trendhunter.com did a study, and it found that 38% of young Americans identify themselves as social activists. Pretty good. A year later, that number spiked to 73%. It doubled in a year. And to make this more real, half of them decided to actually get their hands dirty, participate, donate time to their cause. A third of them would boycott stores or support stores that were in line with their goal, and a fifth of them actually wrote their congressperson or participated in rallies. I don't even write letters to my representative. We're talking young Americans, 16 to 25, writing letters, getting involved. There is a rising tide coming, a change, a paradigm shift, where it's now becoming important to stand for the causes that you believe in. And we can be part of this change. We can join in with this new generation and usher forth an era where there are less boulders in the world. Another study, ABC News did a report on the American Red Cross and how they generated relief money after the earthquakes in Haiti. The American Red Cross managed to raise $20 million through text messages. They raised that $20 million in 5 days. At its peak, the Red Cross received 10,000 texts a second. With technology the way it is now, it is ever more possible to help, to get involved right now. We have no excuse. We can sign a petition with a click. We can send money with a text. We can find forums and groups of activists for the cause that we want to believe in. With it being so accessible, with having this immense tool at our disposal, there is no reason why we should not engage in activism, to start working the steps of activism therapy, providing needs for other people, and feeling better about ourselves today. I would not be alive today were it not for activism. I would not be the man you see before you. But I want to end on a quote from Abraham Maslow, because he can say it better than I can. He said, "Our only rival is our own potentialities. Our only failure is in not living up to our own possibilities. In this sense, every man can be a king, and therefore should be treated as a king." Thank you very much.